Hello friends, welcome back to our channel. So today we'll see one more concept in R programming, that is the control structures, and in that control structures now we'll see the conditional control structures. So today's topic is conditional statements in R. So these conditional statements are one of the control structures in R programming. So first of all, let us see about a flow of control or control structures. First we'll see the control structures. What is a control structure? Control structure. So which will give the flow of control. That means the flow of execution of a statement. Okay, which statement is to be executed, right? So here we are having three different flow of controls. One is a sequential. Sequential means instruction by instruction. So if you are writing some 5 instructions, so the first line will be get executed, and after that one the second, after that one third. So in that sequential manner the flow of execution will be there. So that we call it as a sequential flow. And the second one is a conditional. And the third one is a iterative. So this will be the default flow of control. That means default flow, right? By default. So we have seen many programs in our previous sessions. So there the default control flow is a sequential. That means instruction after instruction, right? So in which order we are writing the instruction, the same order the execution will also be done. And now coming to the conditional control structures. So conditional control structure means we have to write one condition, and we know that a condition means the expression with a boolean, or relational operators. The condition with the relational operators, the expression with relational operators. For example, A greater than B is nothing but a condition, because A and B are operands, and this is a relational operator. So we are comparing the values of A and B, and the result will be either true or false. So which we call it as a boolean result. So always the condition will result a boolean result. That means either it will be true or false. So if you are comparing the two variables, the result will be either true or it may be false, but not both, right? So based upon the result of this condition, the interpreter will execute either true block or a false block. So here usually we call it as a if, and here we call it as a else. So if block and else block. So if block is a true block and else block is a false block. So here at a time, based upon the result of the condition, either true block will be get executed. That means whatever the instructions we are writing under the if block will be get executed, or the instruction written in else block will be get executed. And one more important point is, so that we call it as a conditional control structures. And here one more point, always the condition should be written in if block only. The condition should be written only in the if block. The condition should not be written on else block. Okay, so without if block we should not write else, but without else we can write if, because we are writing condition in if block only. So here the conditional statements are again categorized in different ways. The first one is simple if else, else if ladder, nested if. So these are the 4 categories of these control statements, conditional statements. Now we'll see the syntax of all these 4, and then we'll move on to the R Studio, and I will show you the example, each and every example for each and every conditional statement, right? So other than these 4, there is one more conditional statement, that is a switch case. So that we'll discuss later. In today's session, we'll discuss about these 4 conditional control structures: if else, else if, and nested if. So starting with the simple if. Simple if. So just now we have said that if is a true block and the condition should be written only at the if block only, right? So without the if we should not write else, and without else we can write if. So here only true block will be there. Only true block. True block. That means if block will be there, will exist. So we have to give the instruction to the interpreter which are to be executed if the condition becomes true as well as if the condition becomes false. So in this simple if, we are giving the instructions only if the condition becomes true. So we are not giving any kind of instructions if the condition becomes false, right? So the syntax for this simple if is a keyword, small letters, lowercase letters, and parentheses. Write down the condition here, write down the condition, and open the curly braces in order to represent a multiple statements, that means a block of statements. That's it. So this is the syntax, and here we have to write down the statements. So we can write one statement or more than one statement, depends upon our logic, right? This is called as simple if. Only true block will be there. So if the condition becomes true, these statements will be executed. If the condition becomes false, and outside the if block, statements will be get executed. So we'll write here statement X and statement Y. Okay. If the condition becomes true, then the control enter into the loop and statement X will be get executed, and after that statement Y will be get executed, because statement Y was written after the if block. And if the condition is false, the control never enter into the loop, never enter into the block, and directly the statement Y will be get executed, because statement Y will be the outside the if statement. So that will be the sequential execution again, right? So this is a simple if. Now we'll write a if else. In the if else, the name itself indicates we have to specify the instructions in both the true block and false block. So I'll write here if else, right? So here we have to write true block and false block. So even though we are writing both the blocks, only one block will be get executed, whether depends upon the result of a condition, right? So if here, and here one more important thing is else should be written immediately after the closing braces of if. Okay, so don't write else outside, okay, in the new line. So the closing braces and else should be in the same line. So else, open brace, statement Y, statement Z. So here, this is a syntax for if else statement. So here always the condition should be written only in the if block, right? No, we should not write the condition on else block. So based upon the result of a condition, if condition becomes true, statement X will be get executed, and immediately statement Z will be get executed. So the control never enter into this else, because this is a false block. So if the condition is true, the true block will be executed and the false block will be ignored. And if the condition becomes false, directly the control enter into the else block. The control never enter into the if block, because if is a true. So this block of statements will be executed only if the condition becomes true, and this block of statements will be executed only if the condition becomes false, right? So only one block of statement will be getting executed based upon the result of the condition, and immediately after that the statement Z will be executed commonly, because that was written after the if else statement, right? So hope you understood this one. So example, I'll show you the implementation part in the laptop. Okay, now we'll move on with the next one, that is else if ladder. Else if ladder. So here, if we want to check multiple conditions, okay, if one condition is already verified and based upon the result of the condition, again if you want to check one more condition, then we should not write the condition in the else, right? So that's why we have to include once again if, and we can write the condition. So in order to check multiple conditions, so n number of conditions can be written here, any number of conditions. So even though number of conditions have been written, only one block will be get executed. For example, see, else, and again here we have to write one more condition if you want to check it, right? And after that, simply you can write a else part, and you can repeat the same thing multiple times. If you want to write a multiple statements, you can repeat it multiple times, and finally the else part can be written here. Statement J, right? So first this condition will be verified, and based upon this condition, if this condition is true, this will be executed, and automatically the control will never enter into any other condition. If the condition becomes false, and if you want to check one more condition, okay, if the condition becomes false and if you want to check one more condition, then simply it moves with the next condition. And here also, if the condition is false, it will move to the next condition. So if the condition is true, there it will stop, okay, it will enter into that particular block and it will stop executing the complete else if ladder. So here we can write multiple number of conditions. So 100 conditions also we can write, but only one block of statement will be executed. So whenever the condition becomes true, then only that it will be executed, otherwise the else part, this else will be get executed. Okay, so in order to check multiple conditions, we are going to use this else if ladder. For example, let us take some, we need to check a number is a positive, negative, or a zero, So first we can check a is equal to 0. If it is true, then we can simply say that the given number is 0. If it is not 0, we have to check whether it is a positive or a negative number. Okay, again we are having two things. It can be a positive number or it can be a negative number. So once again we can write, so this is a if statement, and else means nothing but the condition becomes false. Again we have to check condition, else if a greater than 0, then simply we can say it's a positive number. And if both the conditions are false, simply we can say else, simply it's a negative number. If a number is not a 0 and not a positive, obviously the number will be a negative number. So here we are writing the three blocks of statements, right? Here we are writing 3 blocks of statements, but the only one block of statement will be get executed. Okay, not all the 3 blocks will be get executed. Only one block of statement is being executed. So this is called the else if ladder. So multiple conditions can be written here, right? Next, last one is a nested if. Nested if. The name itself indicates we can write the if block inside another if block. So let us write nested if, right? So we can write if and condition, if condition, and if the condition is true, again we can write one more condition here. We can check one more condition here. So here we can write else, and here we can write else, right? So like that, inside the if condition, once again we can write these if else conditions. Depends upon our logic. Okay, depends upon our logic. So don't worry, I'll explain everything by implementing with a simple example, right? So we'll see all the 4 conditional statements: simple if else, else if ladder, nested if. With a simple example, I'll execute for each and every conditional statement, right? So let's move on to the computer so that I'll execute everything on the RStudio, right? Let's move on. Hello friends. So just now we have seen the syntax of conditional statements, simple if and if else. Now we'll see the implementation part. So let me open the RStudio, and here we'll see a simple example which you can understand the working of simple if and if else statements. So before that I'll clear everything. Now let us write here first. Let us take an example for a simple if. So let us take one variable. So n is equal to as dot integer, and directly we are converting it into integer, and we are applying the readline function. So enter value of n. So we'll check whether the given value is either positive or a negative, right? So you can see we can write down if and followed by the condition. Here we need to write the condition. So if n greater than 0. So if n greater than 0, n greater than 0 is a condition which gives the boolean result either true or false. If the condition becomes true, then the true block will be get executed. So here what we have to print, so cat, which is a output function, so n is positive number, right? Here just I am giving only if condition, right? So we are not writing any else condition, so else will be the false block, and this is an example for simple if, so we need not write the else part, that means a false statements. So only we can write only the true block, we can ignore the else block, right? So simply we can execute this one. So it will prompt for n. If we give some value which is greater than 0, so we'll get the result as a 10 is a positive number, you can observe here. And if again just execute, if you give the n value as a -1, so nothing happens, because we are not giving the instructions what to be get executed if the condition becomes false, because this is a simple if condition. Okay, simple if condition. So here we are supposed to give only the true block statements, that means the statements or instructions which are being executed only if the condition becomes true, right? So this is a simple example for if else. Now we'll see one more thing, else also, that means we have to pass the instructions which are being executed if the condition becomes false. Now we have seen the condition becomes true, and if the condition becomes false, we have to write everything in else part, right? So remember, else should be written immediately after closing of the if condition block, right? Now, so here again I'll write here n is negative number, right? So let us execute here. N I'll give -10, so we get -10 is a negative number, -10 is a negative number, right? See, one thing you have to remember, so else should be written immediately after the if closing braces. So if you go here, so you'll get an error. See, error in source, unexpected else, right? So we have to write the else immediately in the same line after the closing brace of if condition, right? So this is an example of if else, right? Now else if ladder. So here we are checking only for positive or negative. Then what about if you give the input as 0? If you give the input as 0, what happens? So if you execute the same thing and if you give the input as 0, we'll get it's a negative number, but it's a false, right? So here in this case we need to check one more condition, right? One more condition. So where we have to write down the particular condition. So inside the else, start again if. So one thing you have to remember, as I have said in the class, so the condition should be written only in the true block, not in the else block. So here we need to check 3 conditions. Okay, one is given number is greater than 0, given number is less than 0, given number is equal to 0. So we need to check 3 conditions, right? So if the given number is a greater than 0, we'll get the result as positive number. Again, if it is false, we have to check 2 more conditions, that is whether n is less than 0 or n is equal to 0. If n is less than 0, again we have to get a negative number. So here we need to check one more condition. So obviously we cannot write the condition at the else. So once again just use a if statement and write down the condition and less than 0. And if both the conditions are false, simply you can give a else block. So else is also should be written at the end of the braces, right? So again you can write cat n is 0. Okay, so you can execute here, execute n value. If I give 0, you will get a 0, right? So given number is 0, right? Now you can observe. So execute. If I give the input as 0, we'll get a given number is 0. And if you give any other output, for example positive value 10, we'll get the result as a positive number. And if you give minus 20, and the result will be minus 20 is negative number. So here one thing we have to remember. So in the else block we should not give any condition, and if you want to check one more condition in the else, we have to include if and we have to write down. So in this way we can give a multiple conditions. We can check a multiple conditions in a single program. So even though we are giving multiple conditions, only one block will be giving one block will be getting executed. So here we have written 3 blocks, 1, 2 and 3. So even though we are writing 3 blocks, only one block will be get executed. So if I am giving the input as minus 20, see minus 20, automatically this second block will be get executed. Second block will be get executed, right? So you can give a number of blocks. You can also write a number of conditions. Okay, 100 conditions we can write, but at a time only one condition or one block will only be get executed, right? All the remaining blocks will be ignored. So this is an example, simple example for else if ladder, right? Then next one is a nested if. That means inside the if we can also use one more if statement. So for that we'll take the example of largest among 3 numbers. So first of all, let us take 3 values. So let us take a. Largest among 3 numbers is an example for nested if. We'll take it as a nested if. So I'm taking 3 values a, b and c. So the first 3 lines takes the input from the keyboard during the runtime. So we are having some a, b, c values. So we need to check first if a greater than b, right? So whenever the condition becomes true, we can't say that a is largest or b is largest. Okay, and else. So this is the control enters into this else only if a is less than b. Okay, only if a is less than b. So here if a is greater than b, once again we need to check whether a is greater than c, then only we can say that a is bigger than b and c. So again we can write here if statement a greater than c. Okay, so you can observe inside the if statement again once again we are checking the condition a greater than c. So again here we'll be having a 2. So for true and false. So if a greater than b, okay, a greater than b, obviously a can be larger or c can be larger. If a is greater than c, a will be largest element, or a less than c, it will be c will be the largest element. Okay, so here we can write it as, so whenever a greater than b true, then this true block will be get executed. So in this true block again we are checking a greater than c. If a is also greater than c, we can say a is larger. A is larger. And if a is not greater than c, we can say that, so a is greater than b but not greater than c. So that means c will be the larger. C is larger. Okay, and if the first condition itself false, that means if a is greater than b is false, obviously it will be a is less than b. That means b greater than a, right? So again we can check b greater than c. if B is greater than C, obviously we can say B is larger, and else, that means if B is greater than A but not greater than C, we can say that C is larger. So the simple code we can have as an example for nested if. So inside if we are writing, so first we are checking whether A is greater than B, and the possibility of this condition is true or false. If it is true, then we can say that A is larger than B, and if it is false, we can say that B is larger than A. So if the condition becomes true, so this will be get executed. If condition becomes false, this will be getting executed. So if A is greater than B, it is true. Again, we have to check whether A is greater than also C also. Then only we can say that A is larger. So if it is false, again C will be larger. Similarly here also. Now we can execute with all the three cases and we can check. Let us take some 10, 20, 30, and we can say 30 is larger. Yes, correct. And again, let us take 10, 30, 20, sorry, yeah, I am giving the values 10, 30, 20. Again 30 is larger. Once again, let us take 30, 20, 10. Again 30 is larger, right? So we have taken the three cases. One, in the first case we have given the third element as the largest element, we are getting the C as largest, and in the second case we are giving B as the largest element, still we are getting the correct result, and in the third case we are giving the first element as the largest element, still we are getting the correct result, right? So this is how we can implement nested if, right? So in today's session we have seen all the conditional statements. So a simple if else if ladder, and nested if, right? So hope you understood, and if you are having any doubts regarding this one, feel free to post your doubts in the comment section. Definitely I will try to clarify all your doubts. If you really enjoyed my session, like my session, share my session with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching. Thank you very much.